I'm Nathan Gallant, and I'm here with Pam, and welcome to Daily French News. As you may know, the French Revolution just recently ended, and there are a few important people we wanted to interview about the tremendous events. Georges Danton, Robespierre, and Jean-Paul Marat. Now over to Pam.
Here we are with Georges Danton. Danton, would you mind telling us your role in the French Revolution? Thanks for inviting me to be on the French News, Pam. To answer your question, I was a French revolutionary orator and leader. I was one of the main people to overthrow the monarchy and establish the first French Republic. I also became the first president of the Committee of Public Safety, which I believed in very much. Excellent. What did you teach and believe in? I disapproved the terrorist repression greatly, and these feelings were so strong that I actually withdrew from the political life. Later, I resumed political activity, and I was against the anti-Christian movement and the removal of salaries of priests, which led to the separation of church and state. My goal was to slow the revolutionary drive of the government. Did any of your ideas or opinions create conflict? I opposed the Reign of Terror, which made groups and people like the Committee of Public Safety, which Robespierre was actually the prominent member of, not grow fond of me. My followers during the time were called the Indulgents. I overthrew the monarchy, which increased my enemies, of course, yet above all, it was mostly my wealth and how I was able to be bribed so easily that gained me controversy. How do you think your followers and companions felt of you? I believe I won the sympathy of people by being generous and passionate about my ideas. Not to be conceited, but I was a great leader. I was very attached to the nation and to the revolutionary cause. Thank you for your time, Danton. Now we move on to Nathan, who is interviewing our next guest, Robespierre.
Thank you, Pam. With me today, I have Maximilien Robespierre. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to be here. So tell me what role you played in the French Revolution. Well, I was in charge of the government during the Reign of Terror. Isn't that the time period where thousands of people were executed without trial? Is there something wrong with that? I personally believe that the guillotine is a great way to execute people. Many people disagree with my actions. However, I was also the president of the Jacobin Club, president of the National Convention, and was on the Committee of Public Safety. That's very impressive. People must really look up to you. Can you tell me a little bit about your beliefs? People really adore me for my attacks on the French monarchy and my advocacy for democratic reforms. Overall, I really just wanted to give the lower class a greater share in political and economic power. Oh, I see why lots of people want you to be their leader then. But you said something about many people disagreeing with your actions. Can you tell me a little bit about those disagreements? Well, I was a part of the Montagnards who wanted to help the poor, and we had common arguments with the Girondins. The Girondins wanted to organize a bourgeois republic, and I really didn't like that. So I took matters into my own hands and started executing people that were against me. And believe it or not, people frown upon that. Do you think you will have to pay for your actions? I don't think I did anything wrong, but I do have to meet with French leaders at the Place de la Révolution in Paris to discuss it. So if you would excuse me, I think I better start heading over there now. Thank you for having me. Oh, okay. Thank you for being here. I guess we can take it over to Pam, who is interviewing Jean-Paul Marat.
Now we move on to our final guest, Jean-Paul Marat. Jean-Paul, how were you significant in the revolution? So glad to be here. Well, I was against the French monarchy and aristocracy, which was influential in the rise of the Jacobin Club. Oh wow, what were the main things you taught and believed in? I advocated for basic human rights for the poor, which made me have a negative view on the new leaders and the overall institution of the revolution. I published my views on pamphlets, cards, and newspapers, since I was a journalist and a political theorist. Were you a part of any sort of group? I was part of the Jacobin group and the Cordeliers Club. The Cordeliers Club was made to prevent the abuse of power and any unfair or excluded rights of man, which Georges Danton was actually one of the leaders of, like me. Robespierre was in the Jacobin Club with me as well. Interesting. Were you liked or hated for your views, and why? I was liked mostly by the poor, of course, because a lot of what I was fighting for was rights for them. Actually, I was even sentenced to prison, but I went into hiding to continue my campaign instead. I even advocated against aristocrats, which would gain me some opponents. Well, that was very interesting, Jean-Paul. I'm so glad you were able to come and share. Now, moving on to Nathan for the outro.
Thank you, Pam. After talking to all these powerful leaders, we now have a quick overview of the revolution and what they all believed about it. And we're getting reports concerning Robespierre and his meeting with French leaders. This just in, Maximilien Robespierre and 21 of his followers have been publicly guillotined in front of a cheering mob at the Place de la Révolution. On that note, I think we'll be wrapping up today's show. I'm Nathan Gallant from Daily French News, and thank you for tuning in, and make sure to come back tomorrow.